are live.
We are live. Welcome to Udicci.TV, impromptu meeting. We're sitting here with Amanda Ashley.
Say hi. Hello, how are you guys?
And as of this moment, let's see, did you actually notify everybody? You didn't notify all?
I did notify live stream.
You notified live stream?
Yep.
So we are probably going to end up with a couple of viewers. Or not.
I'm okay with that.
The record we're going for right now is 18. We're like cranking it out right now. So anyways, we're here with Amanda Ashley. We're going to be talking about Afternoon Cocktail. It's a show that we're going to be producing down here at the Underground at Blue. And Amanda was nice enough to just join us today to begin going through that show, much like we did with Julio and Tag on Thursday Night Social. So this will be your first introduction to this, and Amanda's first time on Udicci.TV. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Excited. Is that really? It's a little nerve-wracking.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be a cool venture, so I'm pumped.
I think so, too. So let's just start off with, what is Afternoon Cocktail in your mind?
Afternoon Cocktail is basically a way of tying all things that are creative into one setting, and an avenue for me to interview other artists of all different genres, take hot topics and kind of fuse it into one channel. So that's kind of my thought behind it, getting creative people within the community to kind of talk and introduce themselves and share their ideas and their visions, along with, the normal everyday happenings with, what's going on politically, around the community, socially, etc.
So it's actually exciting. Let's give everybody a little bit of a background about who you are and why and how this relates to who you are. I mean, you mentioned the creative world, and that's obviously the world that you live in.
Yeah, my entire world is creative. I'm a performer around town. I play guitar, piano. I'm a songwriter. That's what I consider myself mainly. But my background is actually in visual arts. I have a Bachelor's of Fine Arts degree from Fredonia State College in New York. So my entire life has just, encompassed by art in general. And within the community of Rochester, I've spent a lot of time organizing events through what is my backbone at the moment. It's called Local Visionaries. And basically what I've been doing with that for the past few years is organizing events within the community, and that ties in all aspects of the arts. So it's fine artists, poetry, as well as original songwriters, and then also tying in food, wine tasting, and something that for the average person, if they weren't interested in art at all, it's a nice date night out for very cheap, and they get a full evening of entertainment.
So where are some of those events that you're held? It's local visionaries? All right, so tell us about a couple of those events. Do you have any coming up right now?
Yeah, I actually had one this past Sunday. It was called Women Making History. It's in honor of Women's History Month, which is happening now. Basically, that event, there were two events. It was at Firehouse Saloon on South Clinton, right here in Rochester. And this first event featured 6 original female-fronted acts, all singer-songwriters, all very different. So, you had everything from a local Lady Gaga to, your next Carrie Underwood, with blues and everything else, Evanescence. Like, it's just a conglomeration of all different female artists that are extraordinary in their own right. So that's what that event was about. The next one's taking place on Sunday, March 23rd. And that is also at Firehouse Saloon. And that one's going to be more of a local visionary event, in the sense where I have 2 artists coming in. One makes jewelry, actually both are jewelry artists, but they're local, so they'll have booths set up. Also, I have tables set up for Girls Rock Rochester, which is a camp that I volunteer at during the summer. And it's for kids between the ages of 9 and 16. And it's a week-long camp, and it's amazing. It was the best experience of my life. So basically, part of the funds that are raised are going towards their cause, and they always are in need of donations for musical equipment or just to fund the program in general. So basically, that program's designed for kids that are either, whether they could afford to be there for a week, if they can't, everybody's welcome to be educated musically.
It's Girls Rock Rochester?
Girls Rock Rochester, yep. It's 1 week, and it's so cool. Like, really, it was so amazing. But basically, the kids pick a concentration. They get instructed instrumentally by all female musicians, by somebody like myself. So, like, I taught last year. I taught vocal lessons and a songwriting workshop with Susie Willpower and Meg Williams, who are local, female artists as well that are amazing. But it's just a really strong core group of women. That's on the staff. That's one thing that's amazing. And then to work with these kids and to have a week-long process where you could inspire them. And
that's during the summer?
Yeah, this year it's August 4th, I want to say, through the 10th.
That sounds like something I need to get my daughter involved in.
Oh my God, yeah. It's so great. It's incredible. And the whole time I was doing this, I was thinking, like, man, I wish I had something like this when I was a kid, because, like, there's just so much to gain. And it's amazing to see, like, from day one, the progress these kids make by day 5. They just, flourish. It's amazing.
All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
We need to figure out how we can incorporate Girls Rock Rochester into some sort of fun event, maybe after the after the week.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could do a little, I don't know, Underground Idol. I don't know.
We could totally
do
that.
something that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let's get them on video. Because I mean, if you're talking to younger girls, they'd love that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it would be a fun way to kind of maybe have some sort of party. I'll let you figure that out.
Okay.
But I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I'm trying to help them as much as possible right now, and this Women Making History thing, it's the whole thing about the camp, which I love, is just it's a nice way of inspiring a younger generation, and getting these kids. I mean, they're all kids that are, obviously very interested in music, but kind of just pushing them to follow their heart and passion, and they have the best guidance. It's very real, and we also teach like other, like we had another woman came in, she taught. There were workshops that weren't music related, but it was about body image. So it's very like empowering for a young girl. Any kid going through those ages, there's a lot to gain.
It is very exciting for me to hear you talk about this. This is something I did not know anything about.
Mm-hmm. It's still very new.
And over the week, we read a new article, I think it was in the Rock Women magazine,
mm-hmm. about
a number of, you were included in this article, obviously, about a number of women in Rochester who are kind of the music scene in Rochester.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm hearing from you is you've got these strong, passionate women trying to teach the next generation of younger women.
Yeah.
And I have to appreciate that. As a father of two girls, I have to appreciate that kind of giving back. Can we talk about that article a little bit?
Sure.
And so how did that all come about? And tell us a little bit about the people that you met there. And you said that was the first time you had met some of the other women who are part of this music scene.
Yeah, it's very funny because, I've been playing music professionally now probably for like 3.5 years, and you hear of everybody, and with social media and Facebook and all that, you see pictures and images, you hear clips, little tidbits, and I've caught snippets of, actual performances, but for the most part, I think...
that's social media production. That's what happens. Every now and then when you do something impromptu, you just hear a lot of background noises, so that's good. We'll just ignore that, cut, start over.
You got to deal with what you get handled, right?
Exactly. Until we get sound walls, that's what we deal with. We're good.
But there was a really cool experience. Jeff Giroux is a photographer. He has photographed me in the past at shows, and he was the one that approached me about doing this. And I've had a write-up in the past with the Women magazine for local visionaries, actually.
Okay.
So I don't know. This was definitely different, and it was really interesting to meet all the girls. There were 10 women, young women, including myself, and it was just a photo shoot, but it was kind of cool to like meet them and talk to them and see what they're doing. We were all completely different. Like, you could just tell visually, like our music, our style, like everything is very different, but they were all really genuinely sweet girls with a lot of passion and desire to become something great, and they will,
And that is one of the things that you've talked about in the past. Rochester is a huge indie music scene. And yet we don't really hear much about it. Every now and then you'll see a little article come out, but it doesn't seem to be, if you will, the mainstream. Yet it is really all over Rochester.
Yeah.
And that's something of a passion you mentioned, is to help get that message out about the music scene in Rochester.
Oh, yeah. That's my biggest goal, and having an opportunity to do like something like Afternoon Cocktail, that I feel like any little bit to push our music scene forward. I think people know it exists, but it's just everybody takes it for granted because things are going on all the time. It's like I hate when people say they're bored. It's like, how could you be bored when there's like, I know what's going on. I know what I do, so like, I already do a lot as it is, but there's so many options that people don't even consider. And there's a lot of beautiful art going around visually, even, aside from, just music. Visually, poetically, there's great writers in this town. There's a lot of art going around. So I think the more we could make people aware and the more, as a community,
Absolutely.
I think, a few key players, people that are motivated to do something great within the community, that's all it takes.
I have to agree that there's so much great art. And that's funny when you say, how can anybody say they're bored? And my wife's, one of her favorite statements, or truest statements for her, is there's absolutely nothing worse than being bored. And I have to agree with you. In Rochester, New York, there's absolutely no reason to be bored.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with some of the music scene or some of the other arts, go out and experience it. It took me years to go to, like, say, the Holiday Pops concert with Jeff Tyzik. Like, here we have a world-renowned orchestra in town.
Wow.
And it took me years until 3 years ago to go see it, and I was amazed at the impact that had on me.
Oh, yeah.
Going to the Clothesline Festival this year, and just like having your eyes open to new ideas, new perspectives, it just brings the world alive a little bit more, right? And particularly, you even talked about the wine pairings and whatnot. We have such incredible depth of culture.
Even, even food. Like I consider art. I consider good cuisine. Yes. It takes an art to put together a fantastic menu. And like that's one thing. I was raised in Long Island. So, Long Island is very spread out. It's a great, I love where I'm from, but, it's amazing to me that, like, my parents come up, and they visit, and they're like, wow, we haven't eaten at a bad restaurant yet, and, like, there's all these amazing restaurants of all different types and, genres, and it's, there's a lot that people take for granted, and everybody wants to say, oh, Rochester, I can't wait to get out of here, it's like, wherever you're from, you always say that, but up until you take a step away and then you come back. And, sometimes that opens your eyes a little bit. And I realized that over the summer when I did some traveling. Like, there were a lot of things that I was like, you know what? For as much snow as there is,
right.
as much as, like, I'm freezing to death, I would rather freeze. I would rather, take that cold in, but be warmed, have that warmth of a community, that sense of community that I know I'm going back home to, that I know maybe these people in these areas and in these bigger, larger cities aren't feeling.
And that sense of community is really what allows us to do what it is we're doing with Lexington Federal Credit Union. They really want Rochester to get to know Rochester again. And if you will, everything we've just been talking about, that's really what you're helped to do. You're helped to get that message out about the culture of Rochester, about the music of Rochester, the fine arts of Rochester. And that's what Afternoon Cocktail really is all about.
Exactly.
Everything we just talked about, introducing people in person if they come to the show, or online if they watch the show. And really, we just want them to, we want people to start getting exposed to maybe what they're not otherwise getting exposed to.
Right.
Because what I figured out is some of the best that Rochester has to offer simply doesn't have the money to get the message out there.
Right.
And so that's what we're going to try to do, is get that message out there. And Afternoon Delight's going to be something of a talk show, interactive with the audience, interactive offline.
Yep.
Okay. And we'll go through some of the the segments that we've talked about just for some of the fun ones. Now, news and views by the people. News and views by the pupil. That would be interesting. So now we'll be teaching the news and the views. But you had like pick a hot topic of discussion and open it up for debate and opinion. Have people tweet in their responses and questions via social media. A few minutes ago, off air, you would off air. And now it's actually offline, right? Because we're actually not going over the air. We're actually going out via line. But if we're Wi-Fi, then so. Anyways, nonetheless, you mentioned that you had something here like a debate kind of scenario where you really, but not necessarily a debate as much as sharing of perspectives by age, culture, background, experience. Can you share this?
I guess how I envision this is taking a hot topic of discussion. So it could be anything that's going on in the world politically. I'd say anything that's going on socially, locally. Whatever's a hot topic of discussion that could be somewhat debatable, like everybody has their own opinions towards whatever, but basically be able to sit here with maybe two other people and have a sincere discussion. Okay. And everybody, kind of share their opinions and state why they believe that and why they feel as strongly as they do about what they're stating. But also kind of, leave it as fuel for thought for the viewer. So anybody that's paying attention, that is tuning into us, for them to be able to take in maybe 3 different perspectives, but also maybe to gain something and to learn something knowledgeably, from what that discussion is. And I find that I personally love, I have friends of all different ages, backgrounds, and I personally find it, I always like talking to people that are wiser than me, older than me, I want to say, because there's a lot of perspective that it helps me to gain, and as a person, it rounds me.
Absolutely.
So I think, having exposing the general public to something like that, not everybody is fortunate to have conversations with brilliant people on the regular,
One of the things that we teach in organizations when we speak to culture and branding is simply that our experiences from the past actually shape how it is we think, and the way we think determines how we act, why we take the actions that we have, and the results in our life are a direct result of our thinking, right? And what I'm hearing, what I've learned to appreciate in culture is to literally hear those other perspectives. I think too often we have
tunnel vision.
A tunnel vision, right? Our experience is the correct answer, right? Our experience is the right way. Now there might be a right and wrong way, but why a person took the actions they did, that's vitally important. And once we can begin to see that, as you're saying, like maybe it'll start to change their mind. I like to think that we can begin to appreciate that vision. Like we can start to help get that reasoning out, and that's what helps build community. When we stop thinking that we each have the right answer, and instead start realizing that we all are part of something greater, and we really are we're much more similar than we are different. We just like to say the same. We like to say the same thing differently.
I think just keeping an open mind in general, and allowing yourself to be susceptible to other people's comments and what their morals, their visions are. It helps you understand people on a different level, but it also helps you think a little bit differently. And in a way, I think in the end, maybe you build more of an acceptance and a tolerance, instead of writing off people because their opinions are, what they're debating is very different than from what you believe. At least if you are taking a moment to listen and try to understand, it should, in general, help you understand people as a whole.
Absolutely. And I think art does that. And you mentioned food. Like for me, and this is overly simplistic way of saying what you're saying. It was when I learned to appreciate wine. I never understood all the different characteristics of wine, but then all of a sudden, once I started tasting, there is that flavor. There is. Then all of a sudden, you start appreciating the characteristics of wine, and then you start growing your understanding. And I use that simplistic example because it's kind of non-controversial. Like you can like wine or not like wine, but the reality is there are characteristics and complexities that you can learn to appreciate and seek, and then they become complementary in nature. So wine for me was one of those, and that's the art that you were sharing, like where the arts actually allow you to start to see things differently than maybe you have, or appreciate things than you have in the past.
I definitely think so.
So the news and views is just kind of a general discussion where we can kind of get an insight into others.
Exactly.
Nice. So the biz, now we've got another segment you talked about where you want to interview a professional from various fields and pick their brain about the nature of the business and what continues to drive them in pursuing their art and passion. Let's talk about that.
I mean, I consider myself, an entrepreneur of some sort. With everything I've grown to be an entrepreneur. I never really saw myself that way. So I think it would be really interesting, and maybe this is kind of selfish on my behalf, but I really would personally find it very interesting to pick the brains of other entrepreneurs that are completely outside of what I normally, allow myself to be open to. So, like, take somebody like, somebody that comes to mind just because we were talking about the women's magazine, but like Kelly Brewer is a perfect example. She's the publisher. It's her magazine.
Okay.
But like take somebody like that and just question what prompted you to do this. Like find out a little bit about their background and their experiences and what had kind of what made them formulate this idea and push it forward and succeed, and what it took for them to continually succeed and build an empire of their own.
I love that. I mean, because one of the things, having helped small business for years, having run my own small business, I think that entrepreneurial heart, which is sometimes just, everybody likes to say they're the risk taker. Yeah. And sometimes I think, no, we just don't know enough to do any better. It's like sometimes we just jump in and hope that there is something that catches us out there.
Hope there's a net.
I think that you're absolutely right. To understand why. Like, why did Kelly sit down one day and say, I'm going to start a magazine about this? Now, having started a magazine, I know that wasn't an easy task. Yeah. And to keep running it, what makes you persevere? Why? As you speak to those people, you're absolutely right. You're going to gain little nuggets. And those nuggets are highly valuable for your own career. And I don't think it's selfish. I think that's community.
I think, I just feel like, that's why I want to do it. But I think there's a lot to gain for everybody.
Absolutely.
Anybody that's tied in with business, it doesn't matter what topic, or what their focus is. I think just as a business person in general, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who is successful and, built their own success, I think there is a lot to learn. And it would be interesting to get to know their purpose, their reasoning for doing that, and their reasoning for continuing to push forward.
Absolutely. I think that's, I personally truly love that segment. I think that people like to talk about why they did what they did, and it goes back to that experience, and it goes back to that passion. And it's not a matter of people wanting to just tell you all about themselves. It starts to give you a little insight as to why did you do this. Yeah. And then oftentimes you're going to get to it just seemed right. Yeah. It just seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think anybody that's passionate about anything in general, I think, there's always a purpose and a reasoning why they're doing it. Nice. But even like a politician, it could be like anybody. Somebody like what inspired you to become the great person that you are today, and what were the loopholes you had to jump through, what were the setbacks, what was what's your biggest accomplishment kind of thing, like throw a bunch of hard questions that maybe they're simple questions, but something that's going to make them think and, kind of revert back to their beginning.
Is that something you enjoy doing?
Yeah.
Do you like to try to get down and find that one little thing and ask?
Anybody who knows me that I sit down with, that I try to get to know, I'm questioning. I want to know because I like to know about people.
It's a curiosity factor that drives it. Okay, that's that's great. And that I think could end up becoming one of my favorite segments that you do. So we'll have to see how that comes out. You've got another segment here that's talked about that you're calling the canvas, I believe it is.
Oh, Color
and
Me Canvas, yeah.
Color Me Canvas. Okay. So let's talk about that. And while you talk about that, what?
We're down.
Oh.
For some reason. It's recording though.
Okay.
Oh, it's recording. So.
Recording locally.
Okay. All right. So it's local. So while she's talking about the Color Me Canvas, can you go get our little present?
A present?
Okay. Yeah. Here, I'll be right back. Let's let Mike ask you about Color Me Canvas for a second. You're right. Actually, something's wrong with the internet right now.
Uh-oh.
So go ahead.
Ruh-roh. Color My Canvas is basically interviewing a local artist. So the way I see it is wrong camera. All right. Color My Canvas is a segment focusing on visual art. Is Canvas? Awesome! Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah,
I'm assuming I wasn't sure exactly what you meant, but I figured we'll start somewhere.
That's a good start. Well, I think it would be kind of a fun way of sitting down with an artist and as we're interviewing them, have them create something small. It doesn't have to be, a full production, but have them kind of contribute and build on a canvas. So that in the end, as this show continues to build, we have this amazing art piece of whatever, kind of have something that everybody's contributed to in some way. But have the artists, have it be an interview and have them talk about what fueled the passion, what makes that, continue to pursue art and continue to exhibit and where their ideas derive from, what inspires them. So kind of just pick an artist's brain and then at the same time maybe have them create something small to contribute to our show.
I have no idea if this is exactly what you meant, but when I read it, I thought, how cool is that? It's like one of those big quilts that everybody puts together.
Have it just be something that everybody's contribute to and kind of have it be for memory's sake, that this is a documentation of each show and what we've built up on. So that's kind of where my head was at with that.
And I appreciate now, and now we're down on the internet, so I can't even get back to my little list here. So
it's okay.
This could be a bit of a fun moment here. Let's see if I can get it locally. No, can't get it locally. So
I think that was, I don't even know how many topics.
I don't really know
I think that might have been, entertainment. It was, I know what the last two were.
Okay, great.
So it was the entertainer, which is entertainment. So have a live original artist, local original artist or band, singer, songwriter, have them come in, perform one of their masterpieces.
Okay.
And then in between, drill them with some hard questions. Drain them out, leave them to hang and dry.
Thanks for coming in. Now we're really gonna take that.
That's what we're here for, just to drain everybody out. No, but having a local original artist come perform maybe 2 songs, and then in between those 2 songs, interview them and speak to them a little bit about their music and their goals, their aspirations, where they see themselves in the future, what they're trying to pursue, and what they're trying to achieve.
That segment, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. And if we start working toward trying to really do, I think we talked a little bit that we would like to do sort of an indie fest and start it out here in Gates. I know we've already talked with the owners of Blue here. They're more than welcome next year willing next year to start putting up like a festival, if you will, outside, so we can start doing an indie fest. So I think that'd be a fun thing to start working toward, to do some sort of local indie music scene for over a couple, 2 to 3 days, whatever that looks like. And I think we're trying to target July or August-ish for next year, kind of to coincide with all the music festivals downtown. For me, and I saw this great thing online the other day. It said it was just one of those memes that go out on Facebook, and somebody said, you'll pay $25 or $50 to go see an artist, to go see one artist, but you won't pay $5 to come see 5 local artists.
It's so true, and that's the one thing that's the one con of being in Rochester, I have to say right now, because not to be a Debbie Downer, but I feel like it is a little discouraging, when there is so much respectable art around us that people would, turn away from the door to pay $5 for, a purpose, to help somebody, not only you're getting a product, you're getting good entertainment. Why would you'll waste $5 at the bar on an IPA beer, but you can't give into your own scene. That kind of is very discouraging to me.
I think that there's something to be. That's an interesting conversation. I'd like to be a part of having that conversation with some of the local artists. And you and I talked about it, that some of the artists don't even take their art serious or like a business. And when that happens, it devalues the other art that is being taken like a business.
Yep.
And yet at the same time, we also understand there is a reality that the wealth that was once in Rochester is gone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people go out and spend a couple dollars on an app or a song that they get online or something else, and we're saying it's okay to throw a $5 in the cover jar, or even if we put a tip jar up, it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are just playing for tips right now, and that's okay. If that helps get the artist to the next level, helps them get to that studio time. People absolutely do not understand the costs that go into producing music, and I think that would be one of the things I'd like to figure out how to do, is to get the message out to value art more than just look at it.
I think it even goes towards, before I started pushing my music career and doing all the stuff that I'm doing now, I was waitressing, I was bartending, and I've done all that stuff, and it's like the person that'll stiff you on a tip, would you go out to dinner and not tip your waitress, know? And some people that feel like, oh, well, they'll look for reasons to not tip them, but it's like everybody's working here and everybody's dedicating their time and, trying to give you a good service. So why, don't go out if you can't show appreciation for that. That's my personal opinion. No.
I think you're spot on. And I think that, and we talked about this before, is this is the double-edged sword. It's for the number of people who are out there holding themselves out as artists who can play music, and they are. But also they don't view themselves, they don't view it that it's their job to get people to the venue.
Yeah.
It's like they think, you're just paying me to come play music. No, the reason that venue's paying is for you to bring people. So, go ahead, market it on your Facebook, market it online, market yourself so that you have value. And for me, that's a big part as a marketer.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's okay to sell your talent.
Oh,
it really is okay.
I mean, I feel like people probably hate me for it, but that's like my whole life right now. I'm probably, and I think that's what continually gets me hired, and that's what people respect me for.
Absolutely.
Any business that welcomes my music into their establishment, this segment obviously is closest to my heart because this is what I do on the regular. I'm a musician and my music's my everything. But I'm working my tail off on a regular basis. I don't stop working. I think there's different levels of musicians. Some people just want to, there's the dreamers, there's the ones that just want to solely rely on their talent and don't want to be bothered with any part of business. And then there's the hustlers, and there's very few hustlers, I have to say, and that, for like the middle part of that group, I think some people, not everybody's business savvy, and it really depends, right. I don't expect everybody, but it doesn't take much. Like if you're already on Facebook or you're already on social media and you have all these free outlets, what does it take to just put one post out a day?
Right.
Or ask each of your band members to do that.
Exactly.
And all it takes, it's like wildfire, social media, and that's like the thing, it's a free avenue to get free advertisement. So, whether to what degree you want to take it, that one post a day is more than, not doing anything.
You're hitting on exactly. I think that this segment of the show is going to be very challenging for a lot of people, but I think it needs to be said. I mean, I have so many artists who would look at me and say, "Okay, you're a marketer. Give me your services for free."
Yeah.
Why? Why or what? Well, you don't do anything. You just make things pretty. You just make a shape a message. Well, no. And why does the cook? Why do we pay the cook? All he does is puts ingredients together. And I think it's that double-edged sword. It's that the market needs to learn to appreciate the talent, and the talent needs to learn to appreciate the market.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that.
So that'll be a very interesting
Hot topic.
Yeah, hot topic, a great segment.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to find some great talent that it's like a light bulb's going to go off, and it's going to change their career path.
I hope so. I think, I think people just need to realize a few things in general. Everybody. And it goes to the person that just attends a concert, to the person putting on the concert, and the venue that's hosting it. I
Absolutely.
think there's a lot to learn and a lot to be said on everybody's behalf. But
Yes.
I don't think
Absolutely.
I don't think that's anything that should be put on one of those three people. I
Very
think
collaborative.
yeah,
effort.
it's a
Yes,
collaborative
absolutely.
effort,
Absolutely.
and everybody, the way I look at my music and the way I look at performing, I don't want to perform to an empty room. I could do that in my house.
Right. That's a good
and
point.
save myself the gas money.
And then I don't have to get out of my pajamas. I'm good.
Yeah,
Right,
and I'm not
exactly.
packing out houses for every show, honestly. But you know what? I'm still going to put forth my best effort to at least try to get whoever I can to come out to that show that night, and whether it be 5 people or it be 50, I think if those people that I'm working with respect that, and if you're putting out a good product and they see that you're trying harder and harder and harder, eventually.
Yes.
That's more of a business relationship than somebody that's still going to bring in 5 people but not even care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is that's it.
Yeah.
You said it just perfectly there. It's the effort is on everybody.
Yeah.
And it needs everybody's effort. And if we do it together, there'll be great value for all involved. And the last segment was yeah, right? We're going
It
to
was
kind of
the
see
YouTube
here.
one.
The YouTube. Oh, yeah, just where you were going to share some of the social media that you found fun during the week, or okay.
I don't remember what I titled it, but maybe like the Joker or something.
There we go. I think you called it the Jester.
The
Court
Jester,
There
yeah.
we go.
Court Jester. I guess just like maybe show like one clip at the end of each afternoon cocktail.
Yep.
That's funny. Something hilarious just to kind of leave everybody who's tuned in with a smile. I mean, there's so much silly stuff. I have very stupid humor, so we might have to, you might want to approve what I'm.
No.
I would have to send it to you for approval.
Thus far, there's nothing that concerns us. I don't even know what our rating system is. If I can tell you, last week at Thursday Night Social, it kind of went from just having fun to tag work. And he goes, "Hey Chuck, you're a marketer. You'll appreciate the Girl Scout." He goes, "The most creative Girl Scout I ever heard of." He's like, I go, "What's that?" He goes, She took her cookies and she set herself up in front of the pot,
weed?
the weed clinic.
That kid's
I'm like,
brilliant.
all right, there's no more. Yeah, there's no more there.
That's a future entrepreneur.
That's
right
exactly
there,
right.
yeah.
And it's like, I get it. Right?
Smart
There's
kid
a
or
bunch of
smart
these-
parents.
Right. Yeah,
I
one
mean,
of the
it could
two.
be both.
But no, yeah. So I think that's all fun. And we're gonna be we're working toward getting afternoon cocktail on Wednesdays. We're gonna target the afternoon 4 to 5 o'clock. We're not sure
Maybe
of the
like a
start
happy
time.
hour.
And maybe happy hour would be great. And next 3-4 weeks or so till we get this off and running.
Get it working.
All right, and we'll keep it up on Facebook. So for now, people should just be kind of following us online. We'll keep everybody informed what's going on. We'll have probably another couple of these before we get launched, and we'll be good.
Cool.
All right, well, thank you for our impromptu meeting, even though we lost our internet.
Thank you.
All right.
That's
thanks.
okay.
All right, cool. We good?
Cool.
We're good. All right. I don't know. I wonder what happened. The whole